John, if you can get us started. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, March 22nd, 2020. This is a Jersey City Municipal Council Caucus. The scheduled time, start time is 4 p.m. The clock on my cell phone is showing 4:02 p.m. May I have a roll call commencement for this caucus? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon. Not here yet. Councilperson Robinson. Not here. Councilperson Lavaro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera. Here. And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have 7 members in attendance at 4:02 p.m. In an effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities, the City of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16, 2020, until further notice. As a result, this council caucus will be held virtually as a video conference. Okay, Council President, and at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was disseminated on Friday, March 19th, 2020 at 3 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, and local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Okay, Council President, do you want me to just go right from the
Correct.
top?
Yes, take it from the top.
Sure, will do. So I see Councilperson Robinson is here at 4:04, as well as Councilperson Solomon. So now we have a full house. All 9 members are in attendance at 4:04 p.m. So if I may, start with the first reading ordinances. Item 3.1, City Ordinance 21-021 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating a reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 21-022 is an ordinance authorizing the execution of a rights-of-way use agreement between the City of Jersey City and Global Inter Exchange LLC to permit the installation of fiber optic cabling through existing interducts located in existing underground conduits within certain public rights of way for the purpose of providing telecommunication services. Excuse me. Item 3.3, City.
Sorry.
Yep.
Can someone speak to this? Is this like the 5G thing again, except underground?
Councilman, this is just for, I believe it's in between two pole locations, and it's just the right of way to run the wire in between those two. It's the cutoff in between the Port Authority access area and where the city takes over on Columbus.
And the contractor here, do they represent like Verizon or any other, or they're their own company?
They're their own company, and they're certified through the state BPU, the Public Utilities Authority.
Okay.
Doing the work on behalf of Verizon.
They're doing the work on behalf of Verizon.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, so this is not a 5G thing. This is like, I mean, what is the connections for?
I'll have to follow up on that, but I just know it's specific just to running cables for fiber telecommunications. But I'll find out what the project is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know the extent of what this is doing for them. I'll reiterate my similar things with regard to 5G until I know more, which is that I don't have the health concerns, just to put that on the record. Like, I'm not squeamish about that, but the issue for me is again kind of using our public rights of way and other having access to that for their and how little we get back in return with regard to that. So I just want to get a better sense of what the project is and what it is it's enabling them to do, to make sure that we're getting fairly compensated and not just the application fee. The other thing I would ask is if they're opening up the streets, do we have can the law department speak to our laws about kind of when somebody opens up the streets, we pass some laws around curb to curb resurfacing in that regard. So I'd like to get some information about that prior to the vote and what their obligation is here to ensure that we have curb to curb resurfacing.
And Councilman, it's my understanding, but I will definitely get clarification around it, that they'd be doing work inside the existing manhole. But I'll double check with Drew Banghart to make sure we're right on that.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 21-023. It's an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 8, Permit Parking, Section 332-58, Parking Restrictions in Residential Zones for parking regulation changes on Grove Street. Okay, I see here Amanda has the ordinance up on the screen. I did make a change to the ordinance as per Andrew Vicio. There was the parking zone was actually missing from the ordinance, or is it in there? Parking zone 18, yeah, it's there actually. I apologize, it's in there. So I did mark that in there. So I don't know if there's any questions on this ordinance. Okay, hearing none. Moving on to our, did somebody have something? Moving on to our second reading ordinances, item 4.1, City Ordinance 21-016 is an ordinance establishing the rate of the annual levy to be collected for the Arts and Cultural Trust Fund to create funding resources for arts organizations in the city of Jersey City. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 21-017, an ordinance amending Chapter 188, Housing Accommodations and Affordable Housing Compliance.
Just for the record, so I had wanted to intended to introduce some amendments, but given the time frame, and I just didn't have the capacity to kind of put that together. But I'll look to introduce and just alerting the rest of the council on a different ordinance and ask the law department to work with me to introduce an ordinance that would propose some amendments after this ordinance is considered for final adoption on Wednesday.
Councilman, if I may, and I would defer to the law department as well. We have Beth McManus as well with us. This is Gigi. I'm the division director for the Division of Affordable Housing. I just would like to point out that this ordinance is the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls, and as such, it is part of the New Jersey Fair Housing Act. It is state law. I don't know how much of it is subject to amendments. I just want that to be clear before we go down that road. As I say it jokingly, but it's true. This is not a buffet. This is a regulatory framework that is of a whole. We don't sort of pick and choose what we would take from it. There may be some portions of it, and again, that's where I would defer to the law department, which ones may be able to be amended, but some of these are not possible to change, especially because Chapter 187, when triggered, is subject to these regulatory frameworks. So I just want to put that out there so people will proceed with caution when discussing amendments for this ordinance. It's an administrative ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not proposing it for Wednesday. It'll be a separate ordinance in and of itself. Just didn't get the time to pull it together. So.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean.
Are there any other questions on this? Because we do have Gigi to answer, and we also have Beth McManus on the line as well. Okay, hearing none, we're moving on. Thank you, Gigi and Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members, very much.
Item 4.3, City Ordinance 21-018 is an ordinance authorizing the City of Jersey City to renew the leases of Block 389, Lots 19 and 20, 174, 176 Brunswick Street, Block 3002, Lot 2, 285 Ogden Avenue, Block 5202, Lots 28 and 29, 105 Ogden Avenue, and Block 1905, Lot 36, 447 Martin Luther King Drive, as a part of the city's Adopt a Lot Community Garden Program. Excuse me. Item 4.4, City Ordinance 21-019, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, Section 332-22, Parking Prohibited at all times, and supplementing Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for Street Cleaning Purposes, and supplementing Article 7, Metered Parking, Section 332-48B, designation of parking spaces for parking regulation changes in the area between the Hoboken City line and 14th Street.
This is Councilman Solomon on this. Can I actually ask a request of the law department, and it would be also of the council? Would we be able to put an ordinance, a resolution waiving the 20-day period for this ordinance? The quick version is there was for decades it had been no parking on Hoboken Avenue, but we had never enforced it. And then we started to enforce it, so people have been getting ticketed up there, and so we're changing this to just try to make sure they are able to legally park on that street.
I think, Councilman, yeah, we'll look at that. We'll work with you on that. If we think it's possible to do, we'll get that prepared for Wednesday.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, just to keep in mind that if we do add that, that would be something that we would have to add at the council meeting and take a vote on that to add, just to keep that in mind. Okay, item 4.5, City Ordinance 21-020 is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to rescind the in need of redevelopment status from the Webster Avenue redevelopment plan and to adopt the regulations as a regular zone in the Jersey City Land Development Ordinance as 345-40.2 R1W Webster Avenue Housing District. Okay. On to our public. Thanks,
No
Council.
question. But I know Councilwoman Wrigley wants to have a discussion. Go ahead, Councilman Wrigley.
So, Council, I just wanted to give a brief update on where we are with CCRB. First of all, congratulations to our Assemblywoman McKnight for having her bill move out of committee. And I know that a good majority of our council gave testimony during that that public hearing. Myself, Councilman Solomon, Councilman Lavaro, Council President, and Councilwoman Prinzeri that I know of. So that is a first step at the state level. That still doesn't make CCRB with subpoena power in New Jersey legal. That is the first step for our Assemblywoman at the state level. Since the last time we spoke about CCRB at our council meeting, the city did receive a correspondence from the police union's attorney, and our law department has prepared a response for that, which they will circulate. So I'm just going to ask our law department to speak to some of the concerns that were stated in that police union's memo and where we stand in our response to that memo. And then I'll jump back in and kind of let you know where I'm at this point. So if someone for the law department can kind of speak to that.
Yeah, I'll just say, very, very briefly in general, I think the unions had some concerns about whether the terms of the CCRB, if and when the city itself actually institutes the parameters of the CCRB, whether those parameters need to be negotiated with the collective bargaining units that comprise the police force prior to institution. We reviewed their legal memorandum, we reviewed the proposed legislation, and we reviewed the collective bargaining agreements as well. And there is certainly a colorable argument to be made that the terms do need to be addressed, and the terms of the CCRB would need to be addressed and negotiated with the collective bargaining units prior to the final institution of the CCRB terms. Additionally, the proposed legislation that passed out of committee last week contained language that any of the terms must be consistent with any pre-existing agreements, which would include those collective bargaining agreements. Therefore, it's our opinion at this time that prior to instituting a CCRB, which again, to be clear, the city can institute a CCRB. However, as the Supreme Court ruled last year, it stripped many of the key powers that I believe the council had been requesting, and that the city of Newark had added to its CCRB that were struck down by the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, that is. Pardon me. And therefore, prior to instituting those specific terms, which would include the subpoena power, it would need to be authorized by statute. And as a result of all of these terms, as a result of all the following, the preceding rather, it's our opinion that the city does need to negotiate these matters with the collective bargaining units, the PSOA and the POBA, prior to instituting, codifying specific terms, specific structure, et cetera, of that CCRB.
Okay. So I spoke. Who was that? Was that Rich?
That was me. I thought we, in the meetings we had, we were going to hold off until the state legislature came up with all their plans. And then we were told that anything that was done is illegal. So I don't understand what, Peter, you were at one of the meetings, Peter. Peter, you there?
I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, you were at one of the meetings, and we said we're going to hold off until the state legislature makes its decision on as to what's going on. Then they were talking about it's probably going to go to the Supreme Court. So I don't understand what we're doing now.
Well, I mean, I could say that there is pending, there was a petition for certification that was filed with the U.S. Supreme Court by Newark. The city of Jersey City joined that as amicus. We do not have the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court whether they're going to accept certification yet. That decision will probably take months, so we obviously don't want to sit and wait on that. I would not recommend sitting and waiting on that if the city's looking to move forward. Nevertheless, obviously any decision on whether to proceed with legislation on the city end, instituting a CCRB, any kind of commemorating resolution, or anything of that nature, that is a policy concern. That's a policy question. That is up to the council people or the administration if they decide to move forward with that. Nevertheless, it is still our recommendation, and it's still our opinion that the collective bargaining agreements need, the collective bargaining units need to be negotiated with as to the terms that affect the conditions of their employment. And based on the language in the proposed legislation that got out of committee last week, as well as the collective bargaining agreements themselves, it has led us to that conclusion. So as far as what the individual council people want to do as far as proceeding with legislation, that is up to you.
Peter, can I ask you a question with respect to this? Like, aren't ordinances are presumed to be valid if they're not in contrary with the law? Like, isn't it like the Supreme Court already said this is no good, this does not exist? How we don't have the city council here, we don't have the authority to go against the Supreme Court.
No, I mean, yeah, that's correct. I mean, we have the authority. You have the authority to pass a law. It would just not be valid because the Supreme Court found parallel terms in Newark's CCRB ordinance to be invalid, and those are pursuant to state statute and the Attorney General guidelines, which as under state supremacy concepts would predominate here.
So what we're looking to do here is, you know, put a plan from the assembly that was already, I guess, agreed on within the committee so that we can put on the back burner. Is that correct?
Well, I don't want to speak for Councilperson Ridley here as far as her plans, or Councilperson Solomon on any of their plans with regard to anything, but you know, I can let them explain. That said, if you know anything that would be adopted that would be contrary to state law would be, you know, subject to challenge and almost certainly to be struck down as unconstitutional, illegal.
It's frozen.
In effect.
It looks frozen.
What?
Can it
Okay, go
We're
ahead.
not-
hear
Oh, I
me?
hear. I can hear you, Councilman LeVar. It's choppy, but can you hear us? Okay.
Yolanda, could you hear us?
I can hear you now. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
What? So I guess here is where I am with CCRB at this point. We know that Angela's bill has passed through committee. There was a lot of public comment. I did not hear a lot of objection. I don't even think that the police unions at the state level spoke out against it. I know she has been having some meetings with them and keeping them in constant communication with her. In my meetings with the police unions and council people, one of the things that they expressed, or the main point that they expressed, is that they understand if this passes at the state, then, you know, if the city wants to move forward with it, they will do that. That is law, and, you know, they have to abide by the law. So they have no problem with the city saying that they would like a CCRB. We've already said that publicly. They know that we want a CCRB. The issue is just the meat of the ordinance. So what I find is that everybody seems to be in agreement with what is going on currently at the state level and with the current state bill. There is just disagreement about whether or not we can kind of add more layers to that with our own board at this time. So I am willing to move forward with doing an ordinance that basically mirrors the Assemblywoman's bill and says that we are interested in creating a CCRB once it passes at the state level with subpoena power, because I believe that that's what the residents are looking for. They want Jersey City to commit on paper to commit to forming a CCRB once it is legal to do with subpoena power. Now there are, in speaking with Councilman Solomon, there are some more conversations he would like to have with the law department, and we will have those conversations with the law department. But as of now, that's where I am and what I plan to introduce for the next meeting. But I'm going to take that time and have those conversations with the Assemblywoman, myself, Councilman Solomon, and our law department. So next meeting, we should have something on the agenda to that effect. But I want to make sure that the councilman and myself are continuing to work together on this. We've had a good working relationship up until this point, and I think that we need to make sure that we're considering all the options. So I want to hear what he has to add, and I just want to let the public know that we're not dragging our feet, neither Councilman Solomon or I. We're just making sure that we're working out the details. And when you're trying to combine two ordinances, it takes some time. You've seen the council do this multiple times with different ordinances. It's not the easiest things to do. But you know, we've been working on it, and we're working on a compromise. But similar to what Councilman Lavarro said in regards to the affordable housing ordinance, with moving forward with as it is now and making amendments, that is also something that we could do with CCRB, move forward with the base, and as things change or as we clear up some legalities, if there are any amendments, we can vote on those. That's what we do as a council, right? We create and amend laws. So I'll turn it over to Councilman Solomon.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Ridley. Let me just add very briefly where I'm at. Similar place, so slight differences. We received the memo from the law department on Thursday. You know, Corporation Counsel summarized it. In the last couple of days, I've gotten a chance to review it, and I am going to follow up with the law department with a whole series of questions that I have. I think it is important to note that some of these questions around collective bargaining agreements Newark did move forward with their CCRB and did not negotiate some of these questions through the collective bargaining agreement. So I do have a number of follow-up questions, but because those have been raised, I think we have to answer them before we come back to council with formal proposal. And so that's where I think I agree with Councilman Ridley, that we're all continuing to take our steps moving forward, and important to get this right because it's such an important issue. So we want to work through all of those questions before anything would come back, and I'll sort of talk to the councilwoman and the assemblywoman this coming week, and we should have a plan for everybody shortly thereafter.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
The point is, this shouldn't be going forward because it's not legal. So why don't you hold off until everything is straightened out?
I think just the only thing, Councilman, to just reiterate is the bill is written in such a way that it doesn't go into effect until it's legal, but it does put it on the books and commits us to it. And obviously there can be a policy difference on whether that's the right choice or not, but the reason folks, including myself, have been pushing it forward is we think it's important enough to make that formal commitment with our votes and have it basically on the book so that if the state does act, then it becomes legal.
Okay, I guess the whole thing is though we need to mirror the states as much as possible because it's going to be what they're passed that we're going to have to adjust to. Correct?
Yes, and it had been designed, originally to mirror this, not originally, but the compromise proposal we've been working on is designed to mirror the state though.
Okay, all right.
So just to confirm, Council President, the members of the council will get members of the city council will get a copy of the communication from the police unions as well as the law department's response.
Sure.
Great.
Yeah, you can send it out to all the council. Send it to Desiree. She will distribute it amongst the council.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, Sean.
Okay. Our public request for a hearing is growing as we speak. On the agenda there, it doesn't seem like it's updated, but the last that I look, it was at 23 and it's still growing, just to let you guys know.
Okay.
Any questions or comments on?
Sean, can I just ask a quick question about public speaking? So when people submit requests online through the online portal, I know it doesn't automatically update the what we see on the web and the number of people who speak, because I know people have been signing up, and as you said, there's 23. So what triggers the number and the list to get updated in the web page and the portal that we're looking at, the public portal that we're all looking at?
So that, in order for that to be current, it has to be the members of the public who signed up. We have to export them to the meeting, and then once we do that, we have to republish the agenda. I did republish the agenda before we started, but perhaps that portion didn't get updated before Amanda signed on. So, because I did do the correction of the ordinance first. But as you well know, council members of the public can sign up until the start of the meeting. So I could have someone sign up at 5:59 p.m. and I have to republish the agenda as soon as I'm done reading the opening statement into the record. So we try to do that, and we try to keep it as up to date as possible. And we give everyone who signed up in the time of the start of the meeting, up to the start of the meeting, we allow them to speak.
Okay, so it's an export and then an upload. Is that what triggers it?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's not data entry.
On the public's part, they're entering through the portal. Once they do that, my staff gets a notification. It's not just me, it's a couple of members of my staff gets notified of that. And I'm not the only one that can update the agenda in my office, so.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, Sean.
Any questions or comments on petitions, communications, items 6.1 through 6.18? We have one officer communications, 7.1. And then we have our board of directors, 8.1 through 8.3.
Can I ask about 8.1? So Can I get a
Which
copy
one?
of
I
that?
couldn't hear you.
So can I get a copy of 8.1, which is a notification to the council of the appointment of Carmen Gandula as the Department Director of Finance? Is that accurate?
For a temporary period of 90 days, Councilman, as our CFO and current Finance Director, Liz Castillo, is out on medical leave.
Okay, so it's just temporary for Elizabeth while she's out. Is that?
Yes, yes, and we wish Liz a speedy recovery on stuff she's dealing with.
Oh, she's sick. She's not feeling well. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to hear.
she's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Carmen, has a background in some of the finance matters that we deal with the city, and we thought she could help alleviate some of the offset some of the stuff that Liz takes care of on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. And then we have our claims, and then we're going to go right to the resolutions. Okay, item 10.1, resolution 21-226 is a resolution authorizing calendar year 2020 appropriation reserve transfers.
Clerk, this is Councilman Salmon. Can I just ask, is this different than the one that we had on the agenda last week?
No, it's not. And I misspoke when I said that it was adopted. It was not adopted. The vote requires, we require 2/3 of, which is 6 votes in order to adopt the reserve transfers. So that's why it's back on the meeting, and I apologize for that and to the entire council.
Understood. No worries. We all get mulligans. Thank you.
Item 10.2, resolution 21-227 is a resolution to cancel tax sale certificate 2020-0698 sold in error and refund the purchase funds. Item 10.3, resolution 21-228 is a resolution authorizing refunds due to overpayments for property tax accounts. Item 10.4, resolution 21-229 is a resolution authorizing refunds due to overpayments for payroll taxes. Kane Communications.
I'm going to ask about that.
Okay.
So this is, from what I saw, all from Q2 2019 to through 2020. They through the third quarter of 2020, I believe, was the actual number. So they changed the number of employees over that period, reducing it in each quarter from what they originally reported. Is there anything else that, I guess my question is, on what basis do we accept that they simply are changing their reporting on the number of employees that are on their payroll, other than that they refiled it, which I'm guessing that that's what happened.
Sure, Councilman. I'll get a little bit more information on this particular from the tax collector, but we had a few of these over the last year, and there's usually 2 points of error that we've noticed. One is that they remit the entire year's worth of taxes at 1 quarter, so then we would either credit it or reduce it, and then they would pay quarterly, or there's some concerns over whether or not certain employees work in Jersey City but don't report to the business address that's within Jersey City, or there's a supervisor's clause within the payroll tax in which if someone's being supervised in Jersey City or Jersey City office, that they would also come into compliance, and then we actually increase what's expected. So for these, it looks like this one in particular, I'll get more information, but it looks like this one's a self-reported reduction. So I'll see if we have any more backup from the tax collector.
Yeah, just what's the basis of the reduction here? Because
Sure.
if it's remote employees, we could see a lot of this, right? So, and I'd like to get clarity from the law department about kind of remote employees if they're not residing in Jersey City, and whether they still are applicable under our payroll tax law, because that could be devastating, frankly, given the pandemic and how many people were working remotely at this point.
Sure. I defer to the law department on, kind of following up on that. But Councilman, from kind of just an internal review, we kind of looked at the establishment that as long as there's still a business entity within Jersey City, regardless of where the individual sits, and their work product is a result of the business entity that's in the city bounds, they'd still be subject to tax. But I'm sure legal will do some more review and make sure that that's the case.
Yeah. I have no further questions.
Anyone else have any questions on this? Okay. Item 10.5, Resolution 21-230 is a resolution authorizing the business administrator to execute discharge of mortgage affecting real property owned by Salem Lafayette Urban Renewal Associates. 834 Grand Street, Block 1940, Lot 14C, Block 1950, Lot 40B, 4 Madison Avenue, Block 1950, Lot 2B, 8 Madison Avenue, Block 1950, Lot 4B, 21 Monticello Avenue, Block 1952, Lot 28A, 25 Monticello Avenue, Block 1952, Lot 26A, 27 Monticello Avenue, Block 1952, Lot 24A, and 31 Monticello Avenue, Block 1952, Lot 21A. Item 10.16, Resolution 21-231 is a resolution authorizing the business administrator to execute a discharge of mortgage affecting the real property located at 3489 Kennedy Boulevard, Jersey City, New Jersey, also known as Block 919, Lot 22A. Item 10.7, Resolution 21-232 is a resolution condemning and combating racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Just, I can just say, ask for the council support. This was introduced literally on the day of myself and Councilman Solomon introducing this on the day that the massacre in Atlanta happened with the eight individuals who were killed, 6 of them Asian women. Prior to that, there's been growing anti-Asian hate and crimes and harassment and so forth, largely stemming out of COVID and a lot of the xenophobic remarks of former President Trump in describing the virus in ethnic terms and racial terms as the China virus, etc. And so this resolution condemns those acts and then obviously takes on greater import given the recent massacre and deaths in Atlanta, who we all mourn. So ask for all of your support.
Excuse me. Item 10.8, Resolution 21-233 is a resolution authorizing a lien against the properties listed herein for the cost of removing from the properties brush weeds, dead and dying trees, stumps, roots, noxious growths, filth, garbage, litter, and debris in accordance with NJSA 40:48-2.14 and the Jersey City Code Section 287-4.
About time.
Item 10.9, Resolution 21-234 is a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement and corresponding amendment with Hamid's LLC, permitting the sale of specific goods at the city's property known as Lafayette Pool and Aquatic Center at 303 Van Horn Street. Item 10.10, Resolution 21-235 is a resolution awarding a competitively bid contract to Unicorn HRO LLC for payroll and human resources for the Departments of Finance and Human Resources.
Someone just go over, this is a new contract, correct? And we're shifting from doing this in-house to outsourcing it here. Can someone speak to that and what services in total we're receiving.
Yes, Councilman, I'll start off, and then we also have John Mercer and available representative from the company if there's any technical or particular questions. But this is something that the administration has been looking at for quite some time now. It's been reviewed and revisited several times. Most cities and agencies throughout the country now are using a third-party verification and transmission process for payroll. Part of this program would be a soup to nuts, kind of, timekeeping, transfer funds, anything that we would need as far as updates for accruals or annual checks, all that type of stuff. And it'll be merged within our HR system as well. So we kind of have a one-stop shop basis for all of our payroll and HR needs. I'll be corrected if I'm wrong by John Mercer, but I also believe this will interact with our pension system and afford the opportunity for payroll through the library as well. So it'll be a one particular unit. One thing we promised when we started the RFP process with this last year was that nobody would lose their jobs, particularly civil service and management employees. So the city will need roughly about half of its staff to continue to kind of be the middleman, so to speak, between and the city's apartments, and then the other individuals will serve in like positions throughout the city as need comes up or fill any existing vacancies. John Mercer, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah. Basically, in the evaluation report, we've covered, as the VA said, everything from soup to nuts. We hope to move to automated timekeeping so that we don't have to continue faxing timesheets and have payroll staff do heads down data entry. There'll be more verifiers than the data entry clerks. And then the payroll will be processed by Unicorn. Hopefully, we'll be able to move quickly or more quickly out of actually printing pay stubs, and everything will be on an employee portal, including the self-service aspect of it, benefits, elections, filing status, and of course all the tax reports, the 941, the W-2s, things that we have to file. Our current system just isn't serving us well. Staff have to do, both in payroll and IT, have to do a lot of extra effort to get a payroll out. The current system is not particularly user-friendly. For things like special reports for Oprah requests requires IT intervention. That's not the way we should be operating in 2021. And frankly, our vendor support has kind of diminished over the years as the company we started with has been acquired by successive companies. So, each time that happens, we become a little less important of a client to that company. So we're looking for a system that will be more full-featured, more user-friendly, and a company that will frankly be more agile in response to the city's needs.
Okay. If I may just ask about the current employees, then you said half of them will still serve in kind of the HR capacity. The other half, and it kind of cut out on me. I didn't quite hear what.
Yeah, sorry, Councilman. I said they'll be, they'll keep their civil service titles, and they'll be, disseminated throughout the organization on need, whether it be filling open positions or new initiatives. Kind of basically how we see that. We have been signaled by our director of payroll. I think it's official that he will be retiring shortly after almost nearly 3 decades of service, and we wish him the best. I'm not sure what his timeline is, but I know he has filed with pension. So in that event, we still have 2 senior employees that that kind of help him on his day to day, who would stay there, and then we would transfer the other individuals.
Who's the director of payroll?
Max.
Oh, Max.
Yeah.
And when does he depart?
So he had put in a request to retire in March, and then I believe he made it June 1st.
Okay.
Yep.
And then when does the system go into effect?
We could go live as early as October 1st. But of course, we'll run in parallel with our existing system to make sure that everything is correct.
Yeah, there's a need to kind of data transfers and things of that nature. So someone like Max and his staff would be important, I think, in that regard. So if you got him till June, I'm going to impress upon the idea that use them while you got them in that regard. Can I get a list of all the employees that are going to be affected by this, and are they all aware of the change at this point?
Yes, Councilman. So the former business administrator and I went to payroll prior to the RFP being released and kind of gave them the understanding of where it's been. I believe Max and IT and a few other placeholders have been involved with kind of looking at the vendors and answering questions pursuant to the details on how it would work for the city and if there's any particular nuances to Jersey City. And yeah, we've had ongoing communication with them, and I'll be able to provide that information with you, and also provide their civil service titles, which they will keep no matter where they go.
No further questions for my part.
Okay.
Ready? Okay.
Hello. Excuse me, clerk, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know where we are in the meeting. I was kicked off, but I was trying to unmute myself to talk about 10.5. I don't know if someone was here to talk about 10.5. I don't know how far we are. I just got back onto the meeting.
We're actually at 10.11, but we can
wow.
to 10.5. And
it was about the mortgage, the mortgages for Saylock Court. I was just wondering if we were going to lose affordable housing because of the discharge. I'm sorry, I got kicked off. I had to log off and log back on.
Councilman, I'll double back with Rodney. He's the one that actually put this together. I didn't ask him to come to the meeting, but I'll definitely get your answer. I'll get an answer to that.
Okay, because that's all affordable housing, all of those addresses, and
Yep.
with the discharge, I just want to make sure what's going on with that affordable housing.
Okay, no problem. I'll have him contact you directly.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
okay. Item 10.11, Resolution 21-236, a resolution authorizing the Jersey City Police Department to participate in the acquisition of the surplus Department of Defense equipment under the Federal 1033 program.
This is Councilman Solomon. Is someone here to speak on that?
Hey,
Is someone here?
I don't see anybody live, but I can entertain anything you have, and if we have to follow up, I'll be happy to.
Sure. I mean, my specific question is what specifically from this program are we looking to get?
Okay, yeah, I think it's just to enter into the program to be allowed to purchase stuff. I'm not sure if there's anything particular as of yet, but I'll definitely get that information.
Well, I think, and I guess a follow-up question for the law department here is if we enter into it here and then the police department gets surplus equipment, does that come back before the council, or are they able to just move forward? And I'll just sort of say the reason for asking is, from my quick review of this program, there are things in the program that would make a ton of sense for a police department to want, even just old desks, and things of that nature. And, because it's Department of Defense, there may be militarized equipment, and I would want any purchase of militarized equipment to come before the council, just in case, there may be a good reason our police department wants it, but we're also trying to move away from that type of policing. So I wouldn't want to just approve it today and then have the council have no authority moving forward in what type of equipment is purchased.
Yeah, Councilman, we can get an answer for that to you by Wednesday.
Okay, great, thank you.
John, I just want to say this going forward, and I know I said this when Brian was here. Whoever the sponsors are of this, these resolution and ordinance, tell them to be on the line. I mean, to me, it's much easier now that we can pick up the phone and be on the line versus us being here.
Okay.
Because that takes time out too, you know, trying to explain something that, you know, you didn't present.
Absolutely.
So they need
Understood.
to be here.
Understood, Council
They
President.
got city phones, be here. Tired of this.
Okay. Item 10.12, Resolution 21-237, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Verizon Business Network Services, Verizon Select Services for data communication network services under state contract for the Department of Administration Division of Information Technology. Item 10.13, Resolution 21-238 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Celco Partnership, Verizon Wireless for cellular service under state contract for the Department of Information Technology. Item 10.14, Resolution 21-239 is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to AT&T for wireless devices and services under the state contract for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Communications and Technology. Item 10.15, Resolution 21-240. It's a resolution authorizing an agreement with Morris County Fire Academy to permit Jersey City fire recruits to attend the Morris County Fire Academy.
Just a question, what is the funding source on this?
Councilman, it's the operating budget through the SAFER grant. So we would see that on the expenditure side of the grants portion of the budget, and I'll give you the open available balance on that.
Okay, because the account code was a 17, started
Yeah.
with a 17.
14s and 17s are usually grant accounts, just as a
Okay.
note.
And so with the SAFER grant, there's a minimum staffing requirement. Could we just get that number and then give us an idea of what the current staffing levels are?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Item 10.16, Resolution 21-241 is a resolution authorizing the renewal of a contract with Lincoln Recycling Service, LLC, to provide disposal of various waste types for the Department of Public Works, Division of Sanitation.
Can I get
Somebody here to speak on this?
I believe Sonia's available.
Okay, go ahead, counsel.
Hi, Sonia. I just would like to know how much the contract was for the past 3 years and how much was spent in the past 3 years.
I can send that over to you, Councilman. You want the last 3 years?
Yeah, for each year, just how much
Sure.
the contract and then how much was actually spent.
No problem. I'll have that sent over to you in the morning. Last 3 years for Lincoln Recycling.
Yep, thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. 10.17, Resolution 21-242. It's a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to M&M Construction Company for the engine company number 10 and ladder 12 new firehouse for project number 18-004 for the Department of Administration Division of Architecture.
Is someone here to speak on this?
I believe Brian Weller should be available. Is Brian Weller on the call?
I don't see him here. I did invite him to the meeting, John, but I don't see him here.
All right.
You know what? If they're not here and we need questions to be answered, I think maybe we should start tabling this because this is part of the responsibility here. They need to be here. Just like we're here, they need to be here. So they need to be here to explain. If they're not here to explain, there's no need for us to keep going all around the bush here. We need to just table these ordinances. Then they will learn to show up. That's why we changed the time, 4 o'clock for them to be here. It used to be
True.
6. We changed it to 4 so they can come.
If, BA, do you know anything about the timeline of this project here?
I'm not sure what the completion date would
It's
be.
not even fair to you.
Yeah.
It's not fair to you.
I'll find out why Brian Wellers didn't make the meeting, and I'll report.
Yeah.
back.
All the rest of them too.
Yep.
If not, we're just gonna table them, instead of wasting time. This is a long speaker list, people want to speak and things like that. Why should we keep going through this a second day?
I also think that John Metro and I we're going to have a little meeting to develop a better way of having all of the department directors and division directors invited to the meeting, making it a little easier on everybody. So they just like you said, Council President, so they can all be here.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, next one. You got the answers for this one.
Can I just say, I'm going to just
Go
say
ahead.
thank you, Council President. That needed to be said, and I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Item 10.18, Resolution 21-243 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the execution of the subgrantee agreements with Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Newark, Garden State Episcopal, Community Development Corporation, United Way of Hudson County, and York Street project in connection with administering the city's COVID-19 CARES Act funds for the Emergency Solutions Grant Program for the program year April 1st, 2020 to March 31st.
Is Carmen there?
I have a question if someone's available to answer it. So I did speak with Garden State about this. That there's stimulus checks that were passed through the American Rescue Plan, 1.9 trillion. Those stimulus checks are also available. I read a story recently about to homeless. The challenge there is because they're homeless. In order for them to get it, they have to have be able to provide some sort of account or address where those checks can be provided and so forth. And there's some other things there, but and they also have to file a tax return, I believe, is a story I recently read. And so I was reading about some other municipalities where they're really helping folks to achieve that and help them get their taxes filed. So from when I spoke to at Garden State prior to this tonight's meeting, they said that they are helping them get their stimulus checks. But so I just wanted to see that we do that with all of our grantees here, from York Street to Catholic Charities. And then in the past, we've helped people with free tax filing returns through, I think, New Jersey Citizen Action. I don't know if we have something similar going on, but I would ask the administration to look at bringing those partners together around this so that the homeless can get their taxes filed and work out the kinks so that they can get those stimulus checks as well. And that could be a big help for everybody, I think.
Okay, so just to clarify, you spoke to Garden State Episcopal about some of their works with helping the homeless population, and there are some barriers and some issues that they are having in preparing tax return. Like, the feedback is breaking up, hard to hear.
No, they didn't express any, and I didn't get that deep into like what kind of work that they do, but they did tell me that they were helping their homeless clients get stimulus checks. So I don't know what they do, but from what I read in some of the reporting around this is that folks have to file a tax return as well as be able to figure out an address or some sort of location where they can receive the checks, right? I'm happy I'll send over the story to you that I read recently, and just suggesting that these grantees that we connect them and partner them up with, if we're doing, and I think we've done it in the past, I don't know if we're still doing it, kind of free tax assistance or free tax filing assistance, or there may be other nonprofits who are working that. Maybe we can figure out how to connect folks around this to develop a collaboration around this so that we can help our homeless clients be able to apply for that money. It's available. We might as well get it and make sure these homeless members of the homeless community are getting that money, which I'm sure will be a huge help to them. $1,400 checks, you know.
Yep. I'll look into that.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Sean.
Item 10.19, Resolution 21-244, a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the acceptance of the New Jersey Association of County and Health Officials for the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services and the execution of the letter of agreement. Item 10.20, Resolution 21-245, the resolution authorizing the Jersey City Department of Health and Human Services to accept grant funds from the New Jersey Department of Health for the 2021 Farmers Market Nutrition Program. Item 10.21, Resolution 21-246, a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing program contracts for housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, modernization programs under the HOPA grant for program year October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. Item 10.22, Resolution 21-247, resolution requesting the New Jersey Department of Transportation to grant a 3-month extension of time for the award of the construction contract for the Grand Street Improvements Project number 19-014-E for the Department of Administration, Division of Engineering, Traffic and Transportation.
Just someone explain what the extension is, or why the need for the extension.
Someone here? Andrew, anyone?
They were on the call. I'm going to double back. There was somebody on the call. I saw him before. I'm going to give him a call. We'll see if we get an answer right away.
Great.
So would you like me to come back to that once we get
Yes.
somebody from traffic?
Yeah, I'll get somebody.
Thanks, John. Okay, item 10.23, Resolution 21-248. It's a resolution awarding a negotiated contract pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-5 to the Community Compost Company, LLC, for marketing of recyclable materials that includes the provision of food scrap drop-off spots. 10.24, Resolution 21-249, a resolution ratifying the emergency contract to Thomas Alloy Jr. Grant Wright Management for the purchase of FEMA disaster recovery and grant consulting services for COVID-19 response for the Department of Public Safety, Office of Emergency Management.
I had a question about the composting, actually, just because I know, you know, they want to expand the composting program. It was, you know, we just passed it. It was 10.23. Are they changing the material that the composting bin is made of just because, you know, in the past, some composting locations were vandalized, and is this going to be a different sort of composting location than the previous? Because, you know, I think it's necessary.
Absolutely. So we did order some third-year industrial units. We're actually building them out this week, and we should be installing, I believe we started installing one this morning. The rest should be installed throughout the rest of the week.
Okay, and the locations.
Do you have a potential location that you're interested in bringing a composting?
Yeah, are they already predetermined, or
No,
like
they're
you guys?
not. We're more than willing to meet with council if they have any locations that they would be interested in having them be a collecting site, and we can go take a look to see the accessibility and feasibility of the area. We can do a walkthrough together.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Any other questions? Thank you, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, Item 10.25, Resolution 21-250, resolution authorizing an agreement with Let's Think Wireless LLC for the support and maintenance of proprietary computer hardware and software for the Department of Public Safety without public bidding. Bob Baker was scheduled to be on the call. He had a death in the staff, so that's why he won't be here tonight. He emailed myself and the council president. So just wanted to let you guys know if any questions come up on any of his items. Item 10.26, Resolution 21-251 is a resolution authorizing a closed session of the Municipal Council on Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 11 a.m. to discuss issues related to ongoing litigation.
Can someone,
This will be for, we want to provide, it's been some time since the law department has provided a general update on all the substantial pending litigation. So that's the purpose of this meeting. And if you'll indulge us, we wanted to put it out a little further just so we have some time to prepare thoroughly and get you all the information you need.
Okay. Item 10.27, Resolution 21-252 is a resolution amending a professional service agreement with McCusta, Anselini, Roslin, and Corelli to represent the city of Jersey City in various equal employment opportunity and independent investigations.
can we get a list of what EEO complaints or investigations are being conducted under this contract?
Peter?
I think, yeah, this is technically an HR function. However, I will speak to human resources. I don't think we can provide names, obviously, of individuals, but we can give you a number of the cases that have been handled.
The number, okay. Well, let me ask then, are any of these investigations related to the recreation reorganization?
That I do not know. I can find out.
If I could find that out before Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Item 10.28, Resolution 21-253 is a resolution authorizing the award of professional service contract to Brownfield Redevelopment Services in connection with the consulting services for the Harmon Street Pool.
The Harmon Street Pool. So, in the resolution, this is suggesting that there's exploring other uses. Can someone speak to that as to what uses we're potentially looking at? Or
Yeah, Councilman, this is John Metro. So Melissa wasn't available tonight, but I could speak on this. So this is basically enter into an agreement with Brownfield Redevelopment Strategies to replace the pool site on the Rossi. So this will be an extensive process which will have public hearings and submissions of testimony to DEP, and from that we will look at other sites and use community input to kind of take a look at that.
so you're looking to remove it from the lot?
The question was the other uses, and so some of the meetings that I've been in was affordable housing, workforce housing, and community space. I mean, I don't think it's anything that is guaranteed in writing, but workforce housing and affordable housing was the conversations that I've been a part of.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Robinson. So is this being spearheaded at the JCRA or some other?
So I've been working with the JCRA, still trying to find some spaces to put more affordable housing. I know we were working on this a few years ago with, I think, 16th Street Pool. And I talked to the neighborhood and I was asking if there was, if they would support, putting some affordable units there, of course, with parking. Because this was a part of, I think, the 16th Street, if I'm not mistaken, down in Ward E at 15th or 16th Street. They were actually being looked at the same time, and that one came off. But of course, we've been still trying to find some more spaces for affordable housing. So this would be affordable housing. I know affordable housing, workforce housing, and senior housing was all a part of the conversation, but there hasn't been, I guess, any guarantees yet, as of yet.
Yeah, I remember it coming up, both the 15th Street, was it 16th Street courts, and then the Harmon Street pool. Both of those, there were signs placed on both of them suggesting that there'd be public hearings and so forth, and that there'd be looking to remove it from the Rossi. And so, yeah, that's the nature of my inquiry, is to say what's the proposal if we're looking at affordable housing or senior housing. I expressed my support for that in the past, so I will reiterate that. But if it's intended for anything else, I just want it on the record that if it's intended for other luxury developments and so forth, that I'll strongly oppose that, for the record.
Okay, Sean.
Okay. Item 10.29, Resolution 21-254 is a resolution renewing professional service agreement with the law firm of McAndrew Voluto to serve as special counsel in bankruptcy matters.
Can someone advise as to what bankruptcy matters? I feel like we talked about this already.
There were, I will find out what is pending. It's not a substantial number. However, obviously, bankruptcy matters could take a tremendous amount of time, but they need only a small amount of work. Nevertheless, we do have the obligation to renew a contract. So I can find out what is pending. It's not a tremendous number, though.
Okay.
Okay, item 10.30, Resolution 21-255 is a resolution renewing professional service agreement with Cleary, Jacoby, Alferi, Jacobs to represent former Mayor Jeremiah Healy and the City of Jersey City in the matter of Valley Montone, John Estrab versus the City of Jersey City.
Oh, boy.
So just, I hope we'll get an update on this on April 21st. This particular case is now hitting over $500,000 in litigation costs for us.
Item 10.31, Resolution 21-256, a resolution renewing professional service agreement with Broch Elcher to represent Kip Smith, Sheila Lane, and Gerardo Coppola in the matter of Terry Reynolds and Lorraine Oliver versus the City of Jersey City.
I'll ask for the same here for April 21st update. This one is over $300,000 at this point in litigation costs.
10.32, Resolution 21-257, a resolution authorizing the settlement of assessment appeals filed before the Tax Court of New Jersey on various properties. Item 10.33, Resolution 21-258 is a resolution authorizing the emergency temporary appropriation.
Can someone just explain the increases in the appropriations, particularly the significant ones, I should say?
Bless you.
Kyle Reeves from the Budget Office. So for HHS, the increase is obviously just to continue the efforts to deal with the pandemic, and some things that the health director requested that so she can encumber funds, so we don't have to keep going back to the council every 2 weeks. Insurance is just the next quarter of the year. That's how we typically fund them during the temporary budget. And the same for the library, just the next quarter of the year.
Okay. Speaking of which, normally we would have the budget by late March, I guess.
Yep.
What's the timetable here at this point?
Well, we're hoping to introduce probably next council meeting, but we were just kind of waiting on guidance for the, the American Rescue Plan, and we kind of just got new information regarding that last week. So we're just, in the process of figuring out if we set it up the same way as we set up the CARES Act last year, and some additional guidance regarding, what the permissible expenses are. So now that we've received some of that information and we start to get more knowledge about it, we feel more comfortable introducing a budget within probably the next 2 council meetings for sure.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, sorry about that.
Do we know how much Jersey City is getting from the American Rescue Plan, the 1.9 trillion? Has that been confirmed?
Councilman, the United States senators that represent New Jersey have specified that the city would be receiving approximately $145 billion. We're looking for further guidance from the federal government as to how those dollars are allocated and spent. We will see some similar programs like small business relief, rental assistance, those types of things. We just don't know how much is going to be in each one of those buckets. And just to follow up on what Kyle said, the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services, who kind of oversees our budget process, will be giving us a little more clarity and guidance as to how they want to see it in the budget and how they want to see it expended. So as soon as we get more information, we'll definitely pass it on to the council.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 10.34, Resolution 21-259, a resolution authorizing to accept a gift from the Friends of Berry Lane Park to create and maintain a garden at Berry Lane Park dedicated to the life and legacy of Harriet Tubman. Item 10.35, Resolution 21-260 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to adopt the findings in the Memorandum of Understanding regarding the construction and operation of the Liberty Science Center High School.
Okay, someone's on for this.
Hi, I'm Paul Hoffman from Liberty Science Center.
Hi, Paul.
How are you?
Good. So Paul is here to answer any questions.
Yeah. Paul, this is going to be a county school, Paul?
Yeah, it'll be a county-wide school with each district being able to send their most science-interested students.
Okay. What are the other 11 municipalities? I've been getting calls from people because of the crisis in the Board of Education. What are the other 11 municipalities donating towards this school? Or what are they doing? Or what is the county? We're giving $2 million. What is everybody else doing, Paul?
I don't know what the other municipalities are doing. I know that the county is guaranteeing the operating costs of the school, along with the contribution from Jersey City.
Yeah, well, the other towns should be contributing too, because if they're going to include all 11 other municipalities within the county, they should all be kicking in also, because we have a crisis in the Board of Education, and I've received about 20 calls from people on this. I'm all for it, Paul, so don't misunderstand me. But I think the county should take the full responsibility of the school then. I mean, just like County Prep and the other school they have.
Well, my concern is with the school, since it's going to be a county school, and I know just dealing with county schools generally, it's always a challenge for some children to get in based on, they may need they need extra help to reach a certain level. So because this is going to be like a STEM school, my concern is for the kids that may need extra help to get to that level to even get into a school like this. So is there a program in place that can help them get to that level?
There will be. So each district will get to send schools, the number of students proportionate to the number of students in that district. So everybody will be able to do that. And then we will create programs. We've already raised $300,000 for 7th and 8th graders that are really into science, but maybe their skills in math are behind some of the other children who will be entering the school. So we will work with them to get their skills up so that they can enter the school on equal footing with other students.
And since the school, so there will be a ratio of how many kids from each municipality get into the school? Like Jersey City, is they awarded like 20%, see Caucus, 10%. Is it, how will that be, divided? To make sure if this is going to be a county school that Jersey City have the appropriate number of representation of students there.
No, absolutely. So Jersey City will have the most number because the number of students in the school district is way greater than the other districts.
How many students would there be?
400, 100 a grade.
Okay, and then it would be proportionate per grade, I guess, like let's say,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a third of the students in the county roughly are in Jersey City, so a third of the slots at least,
Now, Paul, you said you're going by the students, or are you going by population of the municipalities?
The
students in the district.
The student age population is my understanding.
And what's the racial composition? Is there going to be a quota set up for, let's say, 25% Black, 25% Asian Pacific Islander, 25% white, 25% other, like 25%? I mean, I'm not getting the percentages correct right now, but I'm just saying, is there going to be some sort of system in place to ensure that, this school is diverse, that this school represents the diversity of not just Jersey City, but Hudson County?
I mean, I think that's why the plan is to make sure that each district is allowed to send, a certain number of students to the school. I'm not aware of, I mean, the county is running the school. I've not heard other filters for the selection of students.
Question. So I know at one point in time there was this Councilwoman Prinzary conversation about this being a charter school and then a public school, and now it's a county high school. So can you walk us through how and why these decisions were made and why it's not going to be a Jersey City public school?
Okay, well, it is a public school, so it's a traditional public school, magnet school, but it's a county school, and it was a simple basic reason, and that there was a funding mechanism for building a county school, and that's the county can guarantee and float bonds where there wasn't a public funding mechanism for constructing a city school at this point. It is that simple. I mean, that $45 million roughly in bonds will be floated to for the construction of the school.
To that end, Paul, this is Councilman Lavaro. How was it determined that there was a funding mechanism via one pathway versus another? And I'll say this is that I literally just had a conversation with a bond counsel about the idea, in large part because I was talking about Jersey City Public Schools and their funding crisis, that they do have the capacity to bond now that they have local control restored to them. The other option here is that the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency, which has also been acting as a real estate developer in this whole project in that regard, they have the ability and capacity to bond, which we've utilized that capacity as well from Jersey City's standpoint. So I'd like to know, as you said, from that there's a funding mechanism there, but how much of this was explored with the idea of looking at it as a Jersey City public school? So I'm going to take a different tact and just say my assumption here going into this, more so than I think others, is that I'm not in favor of a county school, right? So this is Jersey City donated 12 acres of land. I would like to see every single seat. When we talked about this, Jersey City children having an opportunity to have a world-class STEM education, a culture of innovation, a culture of technology, and the future. and opening those doors up to them. And I would love to see every single seat go to Jersey City's kids, frankly. And I'm going to fight for it. So I'd just like to know how from March 2017, when we first approved this, which I was very much in favor of this idea, to today, what conversations were actually had with anybody to even look at the possibility and the opportunity for making this a Jersey City public school or even a Jersey City charter school, for that matter. But and I'll say that I've already spoken to Superintendent Walker, who's informed me and said I could say this on the record, that he's had no conversations with anybody throughout the entire his tenure as a superintendent at this point. And I'm going to guess that there's been very little to none with Dr. Lyles, but I've not been able to reach her or communicate with her directly about this. So I'd love to hear your explanation on that, frankly, and
so we
how we
both the previous superintendent and the DOE that there wasn't an obvious funding mechanism. That the fund at that time, I have not had conversations in the last couple of months with anybody there. With the school's been, drawing board for quite a while.
Is Corporation Counsel on the line? Because I believe in order for the Jersey City Public School District to bond for it, they would need to put a question on the ballot, the way our schools are currently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in order for them to do these kinds of capital expenditures, they would need to put this on a ballot as a ballot question. And that was the difference between a type 1, type 2 school that was debated a while back. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that one, Councilman.
Well, we have enough problems and financial problems with the Jersey City Board of Education right now. It's better off having the county pay for it, where 11 municipalities will chip in and pay the expenses of this school. I mean, we have enough, as I said, we have enough problems right now.
Our kids aren't getting the seats. I don't see how that's how we solve.
He didn't say that. He said that they are going to get the seats.
We'll get a proportion of the seats on the land that we donated. Let's be clear about that, right? It's our 12 acres of land. I just want to be clear about that, right?
So Peter, could you find out the answer to the question that Councilman Saleh wants?
Yes.
Concerning that, please.
Council President, if I can, just to kind of chime in on this conversation. We've been working with Liberty Science Center and the county to ensure that Jersey City can get its maximum potential of with the agreement in place, that the city gets its most available seats as possible. And in addition to that, following up on Councilwoman Prinzeri's question, like any other school that you're going to build out, it's kind of built out step year by year. So there is a potential of possibly expanding past the 4 years, but just as a start, it would be essentially get the 400 students in the 4 years, and then possibly through the fundraising and the expansions that we would go to K-8 or whichever appetite there would be for that.
I should also add, and I hope to be able to make an announcement about this shortly, they are working on another idea to very directly help high school students in Jersey City who want to get jobs when they graduate. And it's a program called High Schools of the Future that would involve our working with the schools to train students who wanted to be trained for 21st century jobs that they could get when they graduate, and getting pre-commitments from employers to actually hire those students out of the schools. And we're working on that, and we're putting that together. So that will be a very direct program, which is different from this. This is a STEM academy. We've all seen from the pandemic that science is more important than ever to our collective future. And we want to be able to graduate students that are going to ward off the next pandemic. So we're doing two things on the high school front. One is to work with lots of high schools, and we'll be able to announce that shortly, on a job readiness program.
And are there admission standards required for application to this STEM Academy?
County hasn't developed them yet, but they will. And it's going to be, science interest and science talent.
Yeah, so my concern there, and I mentioned this when you came to us a couple of months ago, I forget when it was, and you talked about this, that science interest should definitely be a major driver there, I think, but science talent can be measured in a whole host of ways. So I'm going to be blunt and speak bluntly about it, right? So in urban school districts, right, Black and brown children fall farther behind by the 8th grade going into high school than any other population, right? So in urban school districts particularly. So we are essentially, if those standards and whatever those metrics are to allow for application and admission, even though they're Jersey City kids and I'm the Asian kid, and I know there's the stereotype of the Asians who are able to their parents push them into the science and STEM and so forth and moving in that direction. And how much many of them succeed and excel in the STEM areas, then we're really going to we're not providing an equitable playing field, an equitable opportunity, frankly, for our kids here in Jersey City, many of whom coming out of Jersey City public schools. Unless we can get some guarantees that in fact there's that admission process is not going to be based strictly on kind of what one's standardized grades were in science or math and things of that nature, even though that as well as their grades overall. If there's a high interest in in being in there, I think that should be the driver there more than anything else. And then you'll have to use your innovative pedagogical methods to be able to bring those kids, those students up to grade and up to.
I mean, definitely. That's why we're going to create programs, and not just them. We already have $300,000 devoted to that, because it's not going to be just traditional testing that will determine whether a child is science interested and science talented or not. So we share your concern on that. By the way, the 300 budget for the school is about $7 million a year, judging by similar schools that are in the state and that the county runs. So that the county will be guaranteeing is $7 million a year.
So that was my concern in the beginning. Like, what about those kids? So you saying that there will be a program that will be set aside to help them get to the level that they need to get into a school like this, correct?
Yes.
Because that was my concern, because I know when it comes to a certain group of children, they just need a little assistant. They may have that talent, but maybe lacking in another area that will qualify them for the school. But if they had the support and programs, they can get there. So I want to make sure that program is in place.
I mean, absolutely. And that's why we're trying to work with elementary schools throughout the city and to start children very young in the sciences. This is not the only answer. I mean, right now we're working with PS 34, the Barack Obama School, and an after-school STEM program. We're in the 4th year of that now, to try to maintain that natural curiosity that all kids have in science, so that they'll, want to go into sciences later. So we really need to start young, and that's what we do as an institution. So we're always open to doing that with any school in Jersey City. And
question about the
300,000 strictly for Jersey City schools?
I'm sorry,
or is it 300,000 strictly for Jersey City schools, or is it for all county 7th and 8th graders?
It's for all county. That's the amount of money that one generous donor committed to this. So that doesn't mean we can't create other programs.
But that's not strictly for Jersey City.
Right.
No, it can't be. It's a county school. Once it becomes county, that means everyone in the county can apply. That's with all county schools. My concern is if they're going to make this county, Jersey City has to have a good number of students in there. And we have to have a mechanism in place to help those who have challenge in science and math. Because after all, it is in Ward F.
So what is the current, selection process for the county schools? Because I know that I think the bottom line here is that a lot of us have concerns because we seem to have difficulty getting our Jersey City kids into the county schools currently. So is there just one board, like the county, I don't know, board that selects the students for all their schools, or does each school have an individual board that reviews their selection process?
So my understanding, again, the county will run the school in the end, but my understanding is that a fixed number of seats based on the student population will be guaranteed for each area within the county. So,
Okay.
you know, Jersey City will get like a third of the seats or whatever it is. So no matter what. So you, for starters.
Yes, but how do they determine which kids? I guess is the question. So if we're getting a third of the seats, and then we have, I don't know what a third of those seats are going to be, but we have 20,000 kids from Jersey City that want to get into the school. What is, I guess, the determining factors that would choose out of that batch?
So, I mean, that will need to be developed, but that it's, you know, that'll be a work in progress. And yes, it has to be, you know, equitable, and screen for science interest, which doesn't mean the students that get the highest scores on an Algebra 2 test, okay? It means, but you know, we want to end up with ones that would really benefit from what's going to be unique about this school. You know, we have the largest planetarium in the Western Hemisphere, and we work with scientists that win Nobel Prizes and present their work there. So students that want to go into astronomy would be perfect match for that school, regardless of what their math test scores may be. But, you know, so again, it's just one of our school initiatives. We really hope in a much larger way before this school even opens to roll out this job prep program that will work with, you know, some of the most challenged areas in the city, because they could benefit the most from their students graduating and being able to go right into jobs if they choose to.
So this is Councilman.
Here is a board. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut one off.
Thanks, Council President. Just wanted to ask a question. So the BA said this, and Mr. Hoffman has referenced this, but I just want to be clear. There's nothing in this agreement or any other agreement that guarantees a certain number of seats to Jersey City above and beyond any normal county school, even though we're contributing both the land and a $2 million annual operating cost. I just want to make sure that I'm accurate in stating that.
Yes, and I mean, all those details haven't been worked out yet.
Sure, and I guess this is my concern as a safety public. I understand where Councilman Lavarro is coming from and saying, like, you know, could Jersey City as a city have bonded for this, and all the seats have been to Jersey City, which I think would have been you know, potentially the ideal. It's just hard for me to see, if we're going down the county route, to say why Jersey City is contributing double in both land and $2 million, but not getting a significant additional portion of the seats for our kids. In essence, we're putting land and money into.
I can answer that. I can answer that, James. I'm on the call. It's the mayor, so
Okay.
I'm happy to delve into that when Paul is done. I'm happy when Paul, if Paul, if you want to defer to me, I'm happy to answer that.
Sure.
You know? So yeah, I think, James, like, people who are saying that, it's a gross misrepresentation of what happened there. SciTech City was donated by the city with the JCRA's help. Some of the council members sat on the JCRA at the time that they advocated for it. And the idea behind it was not just the high school. The high school was added on as part of the concept. It was an entire ecosystem that would create scientists. And that's the reason that we did it, and foster a global brand for Jersey City around science and technology. And that included wet labs, that included visiting scientists, that included EdgeWorks, and that included an incubator for 200 plus businesses. And data shows that the majority of those businesses create their headquarters, if it tends to be a global headquarters, within a very, very, very small radius of where they're founded. And so there were all sorts of benefits for Jersey City. At the time, the council said that the only thing that they requested was that it was a Jersey City public school. And there was pushback at the time, even around charter school versus a public school. And we said we would work within the framework that the council outlined for us. So when we did this in the past with Explore 2000 downtown, the county apparatus committed to us that 60% of the kids, which is higher than the percentage of Jersey City is for the entire county, would be Jersey City residents at Explore 2000. And it's right now 66%, with hundreds of applications, which speak to the demand that parents want to go to some of these county schools and have options. And so we explored with them this apparatus because there was no other mechanism to create the same type of educational opportunity, the same type of flexible curriculum, and we're having a cost saving for Jersey City residents. When people say you're paying $2 million, it is a massive discount to what the Jersey City taxpayers pay per school right now, which is multiples of that. So if you look at what we're paying, if you have 200 students there, if there's 400 students, it's 240 that are committed to Jersey City. And if you're paying less than $10,000 per student, which is a huge discount to what we pay for the Jersey City public school system. So I would argue that you're actually saving taxpayer dollars by going this way, and at the same time creating an option that parents want. And it's clear with the demand of applications and the requests that you all see coming in every single year. So if there's any additional question, I'm happy to drill down on any of that, but it's, this is a good thing, and it's really sad that it's falling into in the social media world into a political conversation, because at the end of the day, I think the facts on finances, the facts on the history of SciTech City, the facts of parents wanting options for education, the economics of this, and the fact that the Jersey City Public School was offered this opportunity with the previous administration, but they didn't have a mechanism to do it. All of those things lead to it being kind of a layup for the Jersey City resident and taxpayer.
So Mayor, just to respond on one very specific point.
Yeah, sure.
I'm looking for kind of at a minimum, something written in writing in stone on the commitment to the percentage of kids for Jersey City. Because if you're saying that's what it is at Explore 2000, it's not in the agreement that's before the council as of today.
Well, it was the same mechanism that we used on the county, and they're ultimately back in Explore 2000, and they've exceeded that. And, we didn't hold them to it in writing because, ultimately is a county school, but they've kept their word and exceeded it every single year. And at the same time, even if you look, and even if you were to say that it was the sheer percentage of Jersey City is to the relative county and proportion of the school that way, it still is a financial savings for the taxpayers of Jersey City, still with that process in place. And that's not what they're saying to us. And at the end of the day, it's not a choice here between the Jersey City public school, this being a traditional school, or this being a county school, because the public school said that they have no mechanism to build it, and they have no mechanism to create the same flexible board and the same flexible curriculum that is coveted or what we're going to do over here. So the choice is essentially having no school, which is an option, and it would be unfortunate because it's a cost savings ultimately to taxpayers an option, or partnering with the county and have them build us a school and ultimately creating another great option for Jersey City residents. So it's similar to what we did with Explore 2000, and that has worked. And beyond that, even if you say just the sheer percentage is exactly what we are proportional, which is what it was prior to Explore 2000, we're still saving money for Jersey City residents.
You also have a situation where private philanthropists have donated $5 million to a public school. Okay, they don't have control over this school. And so that is something which is very unusual that we've been able to bring to this.
The $2 million and the $5 million, you said $7 million to operate the school earlier. Is that how the school is going to be operate, or is the county contributing some money yearly?
No, the county, let me speak to that. The county, this is going to fall within the county structure. And the only reason that the county is doing this is because we requested it, as we know that what the demand is within Jersey City. I mean, again, you all see it every single year, and I know you all do. So we requested it, and it was based on this kind of idea of what we wanted to do. And then ultimately it's a major cost to build and construct the school. So Paul went out and was able to figure out a mechanism with the HCIA, private dollars, that would allow the construction in Jersey City for a brand new public school. And when people say, I just want to go back to the fact when people say, and I said this to one of the council people who I feel like this is getting into kind of the political world, unfortunately, yesterday, when they were commenting, well, I want it to be a 100% Jersey City school. And I said, you know, it's a really good talking point, but let's look at that for a second. Let's say you're able, the public schools can't build it, but let's say you're able to build a school that's 100 students and 100% Jersey City public schools, right? Is that a better option than having 240 seats in a county school, 240 seats dedicated to Jersey City? Our job is to provide opportunities for people, the best opportunities possible. And I'm just going to reiterate what was said to some of you on the phone. This is not at the expense of the Jersey City public school system. We have committed a lot to the Jersey City public school system in the last year alone. We're building them a new school, the annex to PS16, which was done via Jersey City taxpayers. We committed $14 million on the JCMUA. You all voted 2 weeks ago on a shared service agreement for everything from salt to helping crossing guards. So we continue to help them every which way that we can, and we're going to continue to find ways to help them, but it's not a this or that conversation. We can do both and give parents a great option here.
Mayor, where's this 240 number? I think I got lost.
Well, 240 is because the county is committed, the schools of technology have committed 60% of the kids to be Jersey City residents, similar to what they did at Explore 2000. Hopefully it's more than that, but they've committed 60%. I mean, I'm saying this on the record here. So, and this is for everybody to see here. So if it's 400 seat school, as Paul outlined, it is going to be, you do the math, 240 seats dedicated to Jersey City students. And I just want to say one thing that I know that I might as well say it here on the call that you touched on and the council president specifically touched on, is that she wanted to ask specifically about hard to reach and more vulnerable communities, making sure that they have access and they get the opportunity at these seats. And what we said to the council president, she was really a strong advocate for this, is that we would allocate some dollars towards extracurricular activities to get kids that are interested in science but may not test as well up to be able to get into that school and test into it and achieve there ultimately. So similar to what we did in the police department with Paco and the Latino community, it was a hard to reach community. We invested in training and partners in order to make sure that we correct that. And you could see the results for that. And what we said to the council president is that we're willing to set up a program to make sure that the south side of the city actually has an infrastructure around it to support children getting into this school with real dollars.
Now, Paul, I have one more quick question. Yeah. We're going to start at 9th grade, and then next year it's going to be 9th and 10th, and then the following year, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Is that a fair assumption, or is it going to be the 400 students from, day one?
I think that I would defer to Paul on that, but I think that the right model, and I think that many of you have been involved in education before, and most of these schools phase in by some way of 1 year after the other, right? So it's not all at once that they open it up to 400 students. It's generally starting at 1 grade or 2 grades. I defer to Paul on the schools of technology on that part.
Yeah, I mean, pedagogically, that would be the best way. And look, realistically, you're not going to have students switch in their last year of school. So I think it's better to build it up. By the way, my CFO wrote me a note. Of the 300,000 that we already have, most of that's for Jersey City. I was mistaken when I said that was for the whole county. Probably 225,000 of that will go toward Jersey City.
What money is that referencing?
One donor put up $300,000 for programs for 7th and 8th graders that want to go to the school but may not test well in traditional ways, to help them with, like, if say their math skills aren't up to stuff, that we're able to work with them for a couple years so that they enter with the same math skills that any other child who enters the school does.
So this is Council 75%. Want to make one final point here. Mayor, I hear some of the things you said. I just want to state, clearly, from my perspective, I don't trust a sort of agreement with the county unless it's in writing and signed and we can point back to it. And, respectfully, this is the current leadership of the county promised 2 years ago to exit a nice contract and broke their promise, and it wasn't in writing. And 5 years from now, it might be a totally different leadership. so maybe this group will abide by their word, but they won't. So I think being the stewards of the taxpayers' money, we, at a minimum, we need their agreements in writing, and then we need to be able to understand how the percentage was determined, and see if we can get, you know, more for Jersey City.
Well, James, I would just say then if that's where you, if look, I don't want this to become tied into conversation around the ICE contract. I don't think it's fair for the thousands of kids that covet spots in different types of high schools in Jersey City. But if you feel that that is the position that you want to take, then I would say then you should just defer to the standard protocol of all of the county schools, which is proportional admission to the population. And then if you're looking at 40+% per Jersey City, then that you could just do the math at 160 seats. It's still a massive discount to taxpayers, and it still is 160 plus kids that would have an opportunity at a great school. So I don't really see that as a main driver or a reason not to vote for it. If you don't believe it's 60%, I mean, that's your prerogative. But at 40%, it still is a home run for Jersey City residents.
So since we've been
Go ahead,
utilizing,
Yolanda.
I'm going to make a couple of points, and then Explore 2000 has been referenced repeatedly by the mayor. So what I'd like to see is that 66%, those numbers of Jersey City residents and the other municipalities, and get the report on that. But I'd like that report to be broken down by demographics and by geography in Jersey City. To provide that, I think every council person should look at that and make sure that if that's the model for admission that's going to be utilized across the board, to make sure that that's the model that you want for Jersey City's admissions for our children to go into this proposed school here at the county, this proposed county STEM school. And then the second thing I'd ask is that look, I'm glad that you talked to the council president about proposing these programs to help help uplift students with their skills, their math and science skills. But to be clear, it sounds to me like that was a recent conversation, right? So it didn't go into the overall planning, into this whole thing, and to the overall thinking of like how to develop this STEM academy. Those considerations weren't put into place. They weren't prioritized. And they weren't at the foremost.
No,
For me, that's
not accurate. Hold on, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. But go ahead.
I'm going to finish my statement, Mayor, and I gave you the opportunity to do that. I'm going to finish my statement. That is, for me, the priority here is the idea that we should be prioritizing our Jersey City kids. Our Jersey City kids need to be. We talked about a culture. I stood by that, and I will not denounce what I said in 2017. I stood up for a SciTech City and a vision, and a lot of other people did too. This idea that we create a culture of innovation, and people talked about at that meeting that this is in Jersey City. And we said, yes, this is Jersey City. This is exactly who Jersey City can be for all of our children and all of our communities, a culture of innovation and a community of innovation here in Jersey City. This falls short of that. And I would urge all of the parties to kind of get back to the table on this and to really think about that. How do we really make it sure that this SciTech City, all of it is actually beneficial and really beneficial to all the people of Jersey City?
Okay, so I want to just push back on that and say, number one, it clearly wasn't just this thought of, because Paul mentioned that they've already raised money to support it. And in addition to that, the council president and I discussed additional city resources. So I'm going to push back on that, and that is an absolute false statement that you made. That's number one. Number two is the demographics of the county schools. And I think any parent that applies and goes there would speak that it follows the census throughout Jersey City. There's no question about that. And then third, I would say, look, I think anybody can hear we're getting into the political funny season here, and it's unfortunate that that plays out as part of this. I mean, Rolando, to be fair, you were the chairman of the JCRA when this moved forward. We spoke about the county schools as an option. You were the architect of the deal. The only thing that has changed is that it's an election season right now. And that's really unfortunate for the thousands of parents that want a better option or another option for their children. So I'm just really going to push back, and it's just really disappointing, Rolando.
Yeah, and I'm going to rebut that and call that BS. All right.
I mean, you were the chairman. Okay, you voted. You put it through.
All right.
Rolando,
all right. Everybody said their point. Let's move on. It's all out in the open. Any other council people have any questions? If not, Sean, let's move on. I think we exhausted it enough. Thank you.
Thank you,
Done.
Council President.
Don, go ahead. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. All right. Item 10.36, Resolution 21-261 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City celebrating March 31st, 2021 as Transgender Day of Visibility. Item 10.37, Resolution 21-262 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of an agreement with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection in connection with Rebuild by Design Hudson River Resist Delay Store Discharge Project. Excuse me. Item 10.38, Resolution 21-263 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the City of Jersey City and Merchandise Drivers Local 641 affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Chauffeurs, Warehousemen, and Helpers of America.
Yeah.
So,
John, did you get my questions on this, or did my staff send it over?
Yes, Councilman, I'm working on all the details, but we also have Scott available to discuss any other particular questions, but I'm just trying to pull up my emails here.
So in the past, to the BA and the law department, we've had closed sessions to discuss union contracts before voting on them. And specifically, I do have questions, and maybe we can answer them offline before the meeting, but my understanding is there were some questions related to this union and the local union and the Public Works Department, and I would like to understand how some of those questions have been resolved. So I don't know if it's appropriate to sort of ask through them now or to do a closed session to discuss how if anything this contract resolves some of those.
So Councilman Scott Carbone, Deputy Director from HR here. I can answer as many of the questions as I can in this forum. If it gets into things like collective bargaining strategy or things of that nature, I'd agree a closed session might be the best option, but I'm happy to answer whatever questions I can answer now. About the contract, it's been signed by the other side, so clearly the terms are public.
Sure. I mean, I guess in part my question is to just understand directly what were the issues between these two bargaining units that I understand kind of came together through the merger of the JCIA into the Public Works Department, and how are they resolved through this deal?
Sure, I can talk about that. That's all public record. It's been resolved. So the union that whose contract is in front of us now, which is Local 641, were employees of the JCIA, the Incinerator Authority. And when that organization was acquired or merged with the city, the members of that union elected to keep this Local 641, which is part of the Teamsters, as their representative for collective bargaining and other reasons with the city. The other union at DPW, which is Local 245, objected to that. They felt that they had, the market cornered, so to speak, on the DPW unions. They ultimately litigated that issue all the way to the appellate division, and the Teamsters ended up winning that. And the PERC and the appellate division both held that the Teamsters could continue to represent this group of employees, even though they were now city employees within the DPW department.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. So follow-up question, just so as I understand, the Teamsters cover how many employees and in which division?
So the Teamsters are approximately 110 employees right now. It covers two divisions in DPW, sanitation and neighborhood improvement.
Got it. And no employees in sanitation or neighborhood improvement are in the Local 245?
No, they would all be in Local 641. An employee can't be in two unions at the same time.
Guys, just confirm that. So the second type of question is there sort of an overall fiscal analysis of the contract? So how much is the city committing? It looks like there's some back pay. What is the fiscal commitment here?
I'm John Metro, and I believe he has those figures worked up. He'd probably be the best person to answer that. So I'll defer to him on that, but stay on the call.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Councilman. So the way this works is in line with local 245, and Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, the allocation is $1,600 flat number per individual, is approximately 100 employees in local 641. So kind of just doing that math, it comes out to roughly $150,000 for 2019, and then a little less than that with the amount of employees have changed to a little over 100, 108, and then 98 for 2021. And those last two numbers represent 2% increases on base salaries, including to that retro. So all in, it's a little over $300,000 for the 3 years combined. 2019 and 2020 will be retroactive payments. It's a one-time check, so to speak, that would be remitted to employees within the next probably 4 weeks if the council were to accept this MOU. And what we use for these appropriations are salary adjustment account, which is in the budget. And we use that for all collective bargaining agreements. Last year, I believe the number was around the $2 million mark. So anything that's in the reserve from that or a prior year would be used for the retro. And then the 2021 dollars would be calculated into the introduced budget.
Alrighty. And do we have have a comparison between, I guess, these current salary amounts compared to the local is it 245?
Yeah, so I can answer that. So for the year 2019, the salary amount was the same. It was a $1,600 across the board raise for all the members. We have not negotiated a contract with 245 covering years 2020 and on. Unfortunately, that got derailed by COVID. We're getting it back on track now. So to answer your question better, I guess 2019 was the exact same salary increment that 245 got for that year. And then as John had mentioned, it was 2% thereafter. The way that they preferred to do it was by percentages rather than a straight across the board for the other 2 years. And we didn't have an issue with that.
Alrighty.
Any more questions?
Yeah, just the last one, I think, on my end, and apologies, I missed it. In some of the other contracts, which might have been public uniformed officers, so it may be different, but we had included sort of different provisions around healthcare. And I was just wondering how the healthcare kind of provisions in this contract compare to all of the other sort of contracts that we have right now.
So that's actually an easy one. When they came in with when the JCIA was merged in with the city, we did a very quick MOA to just get them incorporated into the city in 2016, and they were brought on parallel with all the other civilian unions in the city at that time, and that hasn't changed.
Okay, so they have the same terms as every civilian union employee for healthcare.
They do, correct.
Thanks.
And I believe Councilman Lavaro had a question on CDLs and how many of the employees possess them. So to give you those answers, out of 110 members, there's approximately 40 which are classified as laborers, and most of them do not have CDLs. A few of them do. There's about 10 office staff, but the majority of them, which is about 60 employees who are properly classified as equipment operators, they all have CDLs. And I believe that's due to the fact that at the JCIA, pretty much everyone outside of the office setting had a CDL. So obviously we've hired some laborers in those two divisions to assist with operations, but still the majority of them have CDLs.
Anyone else?
Sorry about that. I was muted. So on the CDLs, how many do we have enough employees? Have we met the thresholds for what we need for the work that we're looking to do on CDLs, or is it there was an incentive for more compensation, more pay for CDL, so I'm just trying to get a sense. I remember this coming up in the past in terms of trying to train people to get CDLs.
Yeah, so I'm sure if you asked Director Kearse or one of the other DPW directors, they would say that we never have enough employees with CDLs, and there might be some truth to that. So in this contract, we do provide an incentive for the laborers. If they do want to get a CDL, it's an automatic 50-cent an hour increase in their pay, and that would make them eligible then for a promotion into one of the equipment operator positions once it became available. I believe in the 245 contract, there are similar incentives to obtain a CDL. I don't have exact figures on how many people have taken advantage of that. I've seen a few promotions go through with people who did obtain them, but I can't give you a ratio. But our effort to get more and more of our staff, especially in DPW, to get CDLs is obviously continuing.
Okay. And then this other question goes to John Metro, I guess, and for the retroactive increases for 2019 and 2020 that are proposed in this contract, how are those paid for out of our budgets?
Sure, Councilman. So each year in the annual budget, we have a line item called Salary Adjustment Fund, and that's basically a pool of dollars that's allocated for all collective bargaining units and negotiations. So the retroactive payments would be made through the reserve account, and then the current year appropriation would be budgeted directly into the salaries of the current employees in the introduced budget.
So they appear, they'll appear in a 2021, like, so we pay them out as lump sums to these employees for the past couple of years. Is that how that works, or?
Yeah, it would be a separate what you would consider a manual check, a one-time payment installment to those individuals, and then we reconcile the new salary amount in the new budget.
Okay.
Total compensation. Yeah.
And so when that check is cut and that payment is made, it's coming out of a 2021 budget account called reserve. Is that the?
Yeah. So we'd utilize if there's any reserve from a prior year, and then whatever residual would be in the current year. We'll discuss that more in the budget process.
I'm just trying to figure out if we have the money for this contract. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So
yeah, we definitely do.
Reserve account. But it's money that was budgeted, or money that we're going to have to raise? That's my question. Like,
it's money that was formally budgeted for the optimism that these would be passed. Obviously, with COVID, things kind of got delayed, so that money's sitting in a reserve account.
So it is in a reserve account carried over from all the way from 2019.
2019 and 2020 would be paid out of the last year's prior account. So that's why I said if there's any additional funds that are necessary, it'd be budgeted this year. But I could verify that the dollars for the retroactive payments are budgeted.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
John?
thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Okay, item 10.39, resolution 21-264 is a resolution awarding professional service agreement to Gable Associates to perform a third-party review of the city's energy savings plan.
What's the capital account being? Can you just give me the capital account and the balance on that? What was budgeted in the balance, John?
Yeah, absolutely, Councilman.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last resolution, item 10.40, resolution 21-265 is a resolution authorizing the installation and repayment agreements with Public Service Electric and Gas Company, PSE&G, in connection with the PSE&G Direct Install Energy Savers Program.
So could I get a list of the, I know there's a lot of documentation here, 350 pages. To be exact, 351, I think was the number, but and it's all embedded inside of there. But could I just get a list of the 22 buildings or properties that are being that this applies to, with the address, but also kind of the common name of that. So if it's like the North District Police Station, to say that that's the North District and so forth. if that could be provided. The second thing, and the reason I'm asking for that is I did see that the North District Police Station is one of them. I know we're looking to build a new North District, so don't know if it makes a lot of sense to put in certain improvements into those facilities if their shelf life is like 2 years or less at this point. So I wanted to just suggest if you take a second look at that, or did you account for that already, or?
Yeah, that's a good point, Councilman. We'll definitely take a look at that. We did a research of all city-owned buildings and look at all of the opportunities that were available. So I'll definitely break down that list, and particularly for the North District. We also have representatives from Schneider Electric, particularly Mayor Dawn Zimmer is available as well if there's any particular questions on the sites or the proposal here from PSE&G.
Just the last thing for me is we're using operating dollars, operating budget dollars. Is it possible to use capital dollars for this?
For this particular, it would not, only just simply because it's going to be tagged to our current electric bill, which is where we have our city unclassified products, and that there's no useful life for essentially for the bills, so they're considered operating costs. But it is at zero interest, and it'll be remitted monthly, whatever the cost difference is for this program.
And just to add, this is Dawn Zimmer, just to add in that under the direct install program, 70% of the cost would be covered by PSE&G. So, and only 30% would be paid by Jersey City through, through the bills, through your utility bills. So we do have a, if you're interested at this point, I mean, we do have a brief presentation. I don't know if you wanted us to go through it or not, just kind of gives an overview of the total project, but I know. So anyway, I'll let me know how you want to proceed with that.
Oh. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, let me just say, I realize it's Mayor Zimmer now, so I think you said that, but I didn't quite catch it. Nice to hear from you, Mayor Zimmer. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean.
So if you guys are not interested in the presentation,
Can we see the presentation?
No, because you know what? I asked presentations to be given beforehand. I did. That's why. Remember when I asked that, because then we no.
So Council President, what we'll do is we'll circulate the PowerPoint.
Please do.
The council
I
members.
asked that before when it comes to presentations.
And then we'll follow up with if there's any additional questions pursuant to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mayor Zimmer, for joining us. Alrighty, and then the last item, if we are waiving the 20 days waiting period on City Ordinance 21-019, that will be added as item 10.41, Resolution 21-266. If anybody doesn't have anything else, may I have a motion to adjourn at 6:15 p.m.?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Solomon. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Prince Airy. On the motion to adjourn at 6:15 p.m., all council members in attendance by acclamation, please say aye.
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 We are out of here at 6:15 p.m. Thank you so much.
Clerk, I'm going to add a ceremonial resolution to welcome Kenny Galladay to the state of New Jersey.
I don't feel well, and you're going to make me really lose my breath like that. Thank you so much. I wish I had the power to second it.
Feel better.
Thank you.
Feel better, Sean.
That was great. So, with that being said, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, for watching and your patience during all of this and any technical difficulties that we might have had. We got right through it. And again, remember, please mask up. We are not done with this pandemic yet. We're far from it, but we're getting those vaccines out there, so make sure you get tested and you get vaccinated and you mask up. Even when you're vaccinated, please continue to wear that mask, because the vaccination doesn't prevent you from catching it. It just prevents you from getting hospitalized and potentially passing away.
Correct.
So with that being said, have a great night, everybody. Please stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.